Are you looking for the perfect Saturday morning breakfast or Christmas morning breakfast? This cinnamon roll recipe is just the thing. I spent some time perfecting this one, so let's try it out. The ingredients are going to be 5 cups of all purpose flour, 2 eggs, and then enough warm water to equal 2 cups of water, a third cup of sugar, a tablespoon or 1 packet of yeast, 2 sticks of unsalted butter, a teaspoon and a half of salt, 2 tablespoons of dried milk, additional half cup of sugar, a tablespoon of cinnamon, 8 ounces of cream cheese, and then 2 pounds of powdered sugar. There's a lot to this recipe. Normally for a yeast spread, you would use bread flour, but we want these to be super soft and not too dense, and so we're using all-purpose flour for this recipe. So your first step for this one is going to be attach the dough hook to your stand mixer. You can definitely do this by hand and just mix it with a spoon and then knead it, but if you have a stand mixer, it'll make it a lot easier. Then we are going to get your water ready to go. And so you're going to crack your eggs into a 2-cup liquid measuring cup and beat them with a fork. If your eggs are room temperature, that'll work a little bit better because we are trying to activate some yeast here. So having them a little bit warm is going to help you out. And then you are going to add enough water to that 2-cup measure to equal 2 cups of liquid total. And you want that water to be warm because we are trying to activate the yeast. You don't want it to be any warmer than 120 degrees. Between 110 and 120 degrees is going to be perfect, so we're not killing the yeast or not activating it. So you're going to add your water and egg mixture to the mixture with your dried milk, your yeast, and that first little bit of sugar, the 1/3 of a cup. The 1/3 of a cup of sugar is to activate your yeast, but also to make the dough a little bit sweet. Then you're going to melt the butter and add that in. And get that mixed up really well. So now we're going to slowly add the flour in, and I'm going to add it about a cup at a time, allowing it to absorb in. And don't forget to add your salt as well. I add that in after I've added a little bit of the flour in just to protect the yeast from it. And you want this to clean the sides of the bowl, but a bit of the stickiness in the bottom for this one is okay. And normally I don't say that with a yeast spread, but in this particular case, we want this dough to be very, very soft. So in this case, it is okay. To knead this dough, we're going to knead it for about 3 to 5 minutes in the mixer. And that is going to be a little less time than we're used to, but we are trying to keep this soft like I've mentioned before, so we are going to leave this a little less time. Then you're just going to take that dough off the dough hook and coat it with a little bit of cooking spray. Make sure you get that down in the bottom and get the dough completely coated. This is going to make sure you don't get a crust on there so that it has plenty of room to rise. And you're just going to let it rise covered in the bowl for about an hour, and you just want it to double in size. And while you're waiting for that to rise, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are trying to grow this channel, so that will help us out a whole lot. Once that dough has doubled in size, we're going to get ready to form the rolls into what we are used to seeing. So spray a hotel pan or a casserole dish with cooking spray and melt about a half a stick of butter. And it is very important you spray the pan because these will stick very badly. Mix your sugar and your cinnamon in to the butter. You can use a little whisk for that or a fork. You just want to make sure that it gets nice and combined because this is what we're going to be putting onto your dough. So as you are spreading your dough out, you want to push any of your large bubbles out of there and then just stretch that dough into a rectangle. And having a bench scraper or a dough knife for this next little bit is going to be really helpful. And this rectangle does not have to be absolutely perfect. It'll all come out as you are rolling things up, but try to get it as close as you can. Then you are going to spread your butter, cinnamon, sugar mixture over top of the dough. You might need to stir it just a little bit before you put it on there. And it's going to be a little bit runny and messy, but that is okay. You could use a brush for this, but a rubber spatula works just fine. And you want to leave about 1.5 inches at the top of the dough. And then you're just going to carefully roll it into a log with the blank edge. This dough is going to be very, very soft, so you're going to have to be very delicate with it. but just roll it gently towards that blank edge. And then once you get close to the blank edge and get everything kind of evened up, you're going to pull that edge over the top and pinch that together so that you are sealing up those edges. And this is going to keep your rolls together. Then grab your pan that has been sprayed and grab your dough knife. If you don't have a dough knife, then just grab a regular knife, but cut your log in half and then cut each of those logs in half. So that'll cut it into fourths. And then each of those fourths you're going to cut into thirds, which will give you 12 of your cinnamon rolls total. And then you're going to put 3 of those rolls into a row. You're going to continue cutting until you have all 12 of your cinnamon rolls cut up, and line those up in your pan, and you want to go 3 by 4. And then any of the leftover cinnamon butter that's on there, just scoop that up with your dough knife and put it right on top of those rolls. You don't want to lose any of that. Then we are going to spray the top of this with a little bit of oil, and this is going to keep a crust from forming and allow it to rise a little bit. And then cover the pan with a towel and let it rise for 45 minutes to an hour. These are going to get a little bit puffy, and this is going to make us to where we have a nice soft cinnamon roll in the end product. And these end up being very, very soft, not dense at all, and really nice. They should look pretty puffy after that rise, so this is what they're going to look like. At this stage, you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees, and you do want to fully have your oven preheated before you put them in there. You're going to put your softened butter and cream cheese into the mixing bowl. We're going to prep our icing while we're waiting for the oven to preheat. And this is going to work a lot easier if these are softened. You're going to mix your butter and cream cheese together until it's well combined. You can do this in a stand mixer, but my stand mixer bowl is dirty now because I used it for the dough, so we're using a hand mixer for this. And then you are going to slowly whisk in some powdered sugar. Add some vanilla in there as well. It is very important once you add the powdered sugar in to keep your speed on low. If you have your speed on a higher speed, it's going to just send powdered sugar floofing everywhere. And then after you have gotten all the powdered sugar mixed in, you're going to thin the icing a little bit with a little whipping cream or milk or half and half just to get it to a spreadable consistency. And you will probably have a little more icing than you need, but I've never really seen anybody that really had a problem with extra cream cheese icing. So you're going to bake that for 15 to 20 minutes until it's golden brown, and this is what your final product looks like. And they are super soft. And then let those cool a little bit, and then you're spreading your icing over top in a generous layer. And that is your final product. And these will last for 3 or 4 days at room temperature or in the fridge because of the cream cheese icing. If the house is a little warmer and the fridge is a better idea. But this is the perfect breakfast for a Saturday morning or for Christmas morning. You could even let them rise overnight after they are made into the rolls and then bake them first thing in the morning. So let us know in the comments if you decide to try it. This is a great recipe, and I'd love for you guys to let me know. This is just a reminder, we have our 2 membership levels, so we would love to have you join and join our community. Otherwise, hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free, and we will see you next week.